safety, peace, dignity. These are fundamental human rights, never optional. Yet, 1 in 3 women in Kenya experience violence in their lifetime. 50% of survivors of violence are abused by their partners, family member, or someone close to them that they trust. In 2019 alone, 108 women died in the hands of their partners. In the current COVID-19 pandemic, domestic violence cases are reported to have tripled. Is the home really safe for women? Violence against women and girls has been normalized. Beating, kicking, slapping, slut-shaming, stereotypes, sexual harassment, rape, defilement, FGM, commercial sexual exploitation of children, child marriages, femicides, pay disparity, denial of justice. Justifying them with words like, her no means yes. She asked for it. We need to hear his side too. It was what she was wearing. And beating her means I love her? Enough! We cannot justify violence. Speak out.
Call the police.
Good morning everyone and welcome to today's talk show, Tea Talk, Tea Talk Show. Thank you for taking the time to be here and raise your voice about something very important, violence against women. Some of us might think violence only means physical warmth, like slap, punches, or visible wounds. But in reality, many women experience violence that's verbal, emotional, sexual, or even digital. And sadly, many of them choose to stay silent because they are afraid, ashamed, or don't know who to talk to. Today, we will discuss this issue from different perspectives. We will hear from both male and female speakers, and from someone who has personally experienced domestic violence. There might be different opinions in this discussion, but we all share one goal: to build awareness and the courage to stop violence against women. So, open your heart and mind, because this is not just about women, it's about humanity. Let's begin. I'm joined by 3 incredible guests today. On my left is Hansel, representing the supporting view. Welcome.
Thank you, I'm glad to be here.
On my right is Davina, representing the opposing view. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
And we also have a special guest, Ferlia, a survivor of gender-based violence.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here and speak up.
Hansel, you once said that violence against women is often exaggerated and shared too publicly. Can you explain that?
Thank you. First of all, I want to make it clear that I do not support violence, but I believe that domestic issues are private matters, whatever happens between husband and wife should be handled within the family.
Uh, but what if the violence puts someone's life in danger?
We should not jump to conclusion after hearing only one side. Sometimes women provoke their husband emotionally. In any marriage, there will be conflict. The husband is the leader of the family. If a wife disrespect or disobey him, I think it's understandable. If the husband takes firm action, that doesn't necessarily mean it's violence.
But firm action does not mean hurting someone. That's an abuse of power. There is no excuse for violence, physical, verbal, sexual, or emotional. Slapping, shooting, or controlling your partner isn't discipline. It's abuse. Many abusers hide behind excuses like teaching a lesson or protection pride. But in reality, they're just misusing authority and emotion. And about solving things privately, we agree. But if the victim is blamed and told to stay silent for the sake of family honor, who will protect them? So many domestic violence victims suffer for years just because their families told them to be quiet instead of speaking up.
Now, let's hear directly from Verlia, a survivor of gender-based violence.
I can't say much. I used to be a victim. It started with harsh words, then it turned into hitting. I was scared and ashamed, but eventually I found the courage to speak up.
Verlia, can you tell us how the violence started?
At first, everything seemed normal. He was caring, loving, but after we got married, he slowly changed. It started with yelling, then controlling my social life, and eventually it escalated to hitting and slapping me. I thought it was just occasional, but it turned out to be a recurring pattern.
Uh, what made you stay in the situation?
I was scared that my child would lose their father. And honestly, I felt ashamed. I so thought maybe it was my fault, that I was not obedient enough as a wife. But it turned out it was just his way of controlling me.
What finally gave you the courage to fight back?
One night, he hit me in front of our child. My child was screaming in fear. That when I realized I had to get out, not just for myself, but for my child's future. I reported him to the police and sought protection.
What message do you have for women out there who might be going through something similar?
You are not alone. Violence is not a sign of love. Don't be afraid to speak up. There is help. There are people who care. We deserve to live safely and respected.
Thank you so much. Your story is truly inspiring and eye-opening for all of us. May you always be strong and happy from now on. After hearing this different view and personal experience, let's move on to a very important part, solution. What can we do to help stop violence against women?
First, education from an early age about equality and respect, but at home and at school, women and men must be treated equally.
I really agree with that. But the most important thing is we need healthy communication in families. Don't keep problems inside. Talk things out calmly and respectfully.
Victims of violence against women need support from those around them. One is for families to be a safe haven. Parents should educate their sons not to feel superior to women. Neighbors, friends, and even teachers can all play a role in supporting victims. We need to be non-judgmental listeners.
Thank you for the suggestion. Let's hope all of us can play a role in preventing and fighting violence against women. Now, we will move on to the Q&A session. One of the most important part of this talk show, because we get to hear directly from all of you watching. Let's see what questions have come in. First question. How can we help a friend who is a victim of violence but is too scared to report it?
That's really meaningful question. Many victims are too scared to speak up because they fear judgment, shame, or even threats from their abuser. That's the first step is to just be there for them. Listen without judging or rushing them. Make them feel safe with you. Offer to help. Maybe you can go with them to the psychologist or to women's shelter or even just help them gather information. But remember, never force them to take action. It has to come from them. Our job is to empower, not to pressure.
Beautifully said, Davina. Now, hear the next one. Can men also be victim of violence? And how should we respond?
Absolutely. I think violence does not have a gender. While most victims are women, men can also be victims, especially of emotional, verbal, and sometimes even physical violence. Unfortunately, society often tells men to toughen up and stay quiet, which can make it even harder for them to seek help. We should respond the same way, with empathy, listen to them, take their pain seriously. Violence is violence, and everyone deserves to feel safe and respected.
Thank you, Hansel. That's a reminder that this issue is about protection everyone. Now, the last question. What role do schools play in preventing violence against women?
School actually have a hub role. They're not just place for academics, they're where we build values. Schools should include lesson on gender equality, mutual respect, and healthy relationship. Teachers and counselors should be trained to identify signs of abuse and create a safe, open space where students feel comfortable speaking up. And students, yes, all of you watching can help create a school culture where violence and bullying are not tolerated. Kindness and respect should be the norm.
Thank you all for the thoughtful answer. To everyone watching, remember, tests are not just questions. They are a reflection of real issue, real people, and real life. Okay, let's continue with the fact or myth session. In this session, we will discuss together some statements we often heard around us. But are all the things we hear actually true? Our job today is to find out which one are fact and which one are just myths. Let's go through them one by one so we don't easily believe in information that might not be true. Let's get started. I will read some statements and then we will discuss whether they are myths or facts. Here is the first statement. If a woman does not resist, it means she agrees.
That's really a myth. We need to understand that someone's silence in a situation involving violence does not mean they are giving consent. Many victims remain silent because they feel scared, powerless, or are in shock and traumatized. Mentally, they might be frozen and unable to respond actively. Consent must be voluntary, explicit, and free of pressure. If someone doesn't consciously and clearly say yes, then it's not consent. We can equate lack of resistance with agreement.
I understand the point, but in reality, it's often not that simple. Sometimes women don't show a firm stance from the beginning. If they really didn't want it, they should have said no right away. But if they stay silent, that could be taken as agreement by their partner, especially if the situation is already private and there is no verbal or physical rejection. It becomes hard to tell the difference.
But that's exactly the danger. We cannot just consent based on whether someone is silent or not. Many victims are too scared to move or speak. There's a condition called tonic immobility, where the victim freezes due to trauma. It's not about them not being assertive, it's about experiencing overwhelming fear. So we need to stop blaming the victim and start empathy emphasizing the importance of consent that is explicit of fully conscious.
Velia, would you like to share your thoughts?
I've experienced it myself. At the time, I said no, but he got angry. I felt guilty, scared of losing him, and afraid of being blamed. In the end, I just stayed silent, even though in my heart I was refusing and deeply traumatized. My silence did not mean agreement, it was because I felt I had no other choice. After that incident, I blamed myself for years, even though I was not the one at fault. I hope we can all be more empathetic and stop seeing a victim's silence as consent.
Thank you, Velia. Your story is very important to her. Now, let's move on the next statement. Women who dress revealingly deserve to be harassed.
I don't want to blame the victim, but we live in a society that has norms and boundaries of decency. When someone dresses too revealingly in public, of course, that can attract unwanted attention. In my opinion, if women dress modestly, they are more likely to be respected. This isn't about justifying the perpetrator, it's about being aware of how to present oneself to avoid unnecessary situations.
Statements like that are dangerous and misleading. That is clearly a myth. Sexual harassment is not caused by what the victim wears. It's caused by the perpetrator bad intention. Data show that victims of harassment come from all ages, background, and style of dress. Children, women in hijab, even elderly women in modest clothing can all be victims. So blaming clothing is just shifting the responsibility from the perpetrator to the victim. We need to educate people that the perpetrator is at fault, not what the victim wears. No one deserves to be harmed just because of their appearance.
Let's move on the next statement. Men cannot be victims of sexual violence.
That's a myth. Sexual violence can happen to anyone, including men. It's just that many men are reluctant to report it because they're afraid of being seen as weak or feel ashamed. The stereotype that men must always be strong often silences them. Even though the psychological impact can be very heavy, we need to recognize that victims of sexual violence are not limited by the gender.
Honestly, it's a bit hard for me to imagine that. Men are physically stronger, so they should be able to fight back. But I understand what you mean. Maybe there are such cases, although they are rare. Still, in most cases, it's usually women who are the victims.
Precisely because it's rarely talked about, we don't realize that it also happens. Many men feel they won't be believed if they report it. As a result, they carry their trauma alone. We need to create safe space for all victims, regardless of their gender. Pain and trauma don't discriminate.
Every victim deserves to be heard and supported, whatever they are. Thank you for sharing your view. So, those are some of the statements we have discussed today. Turned out, not everything we often heard is true. A lot are myths that can lead to misunderstanding. Hopefully, this conversation helps us become more aware, more compassionate, and less judgmental. Don't forget, always check first. It is a fact or just a myth. So, let's keep the conversation going, even after this talk show ends. Alright everyone, it's hard to believe, but we have come to the end of today's talk show. We have had an eye-opening discussion filled with real story, different perspective, and powerful message. But before we close, I want to hear one last talk from each of our guests. Hansel, would you like to go first?
Sure. I came here with a different point of view, and I still believe that family discussions are important. But I have also learned a lot from hearing everyone's experience today. What I realize now is that silence can sometimes do more harm than good. We need balance. Protect the family, yes, but also protect the people in it, especially the vulnerable ones.
Thank you, Hansel. That's a mature reflection. Davina?
This conversation made me feel hopeful because change doesn't have to come from half system. It can start from each of us. Whether it's calling out disrespectful jokes, comforting a friend, or simply saying that's not okay, we all can make a difference. Let's create a world where no one feels scared to speak up, especially not because of their gender.
Beautifully said. Verlia, would you like to share something for the closing?
Sure. I just want to say this. If you are going through something painful right now, please remember there is always a way out. You deserve love, safety, and peace. To, to those listening, believe survivors, support them, if even the senseless goodness can be a light in someone's darkest moment.
Thank you, Verlia. That was so heartful. Honestly, today's talk show reminded me that violence is not always loud, and neither is bravery. Sometimes bravery is quickly saying, I need help, or standing beside someone who feels alone.
And sometimes bravery is listening, even when what you hear is uncomfortable.
Or unlearning something you thought was normal and pushing to do better.
And sometimes bravery is just surviving and choosing to smile again.
Yes, and all of that matter. So, to everyone watching, thank you for opening your heart today. Don't let, don't let this talk show be the end. Let it be the beginning of more conversation, more awareness, and more compassion. Together, we can stop violence against women. This is TikTok. Dexterity Talk Show. Stay safe, stay strong, and keep spreading kindness. See you next time. Hello everyone. Stop violence against women.
Stop violence to women.
Stop violence against women.
Stop violence against women.
Stop violence against women.